On his latest podcast, Joe Rogan blasted CNN for claiming he took horse dewormer to treat COVID-19. Over the weekend, CNN aired segments on Ronan's diagnosis, alleging he took a, quote, livestock drug. Here's Ronan's response.
Bro, do I have to sue CNN?
I don't know, do you?
They're making shit up. They keep saying I'm taking horse dewormer. I literally got it from a doctor. It's an American company.
Mm-hmm.
They won the Nobel Prize in 2015 for use in human beings.
Yeah.
And CNN is saying I'm taking horse dewormer.
Yeah, what? So
They must know that that's a lie.
Well, there's a lot of people saying it.
Right, but a lot of people can say it.
Okay.
Like the internet says it, who cares?
sure,
But CNN is saying it.
I think that the last part of that to me is key, because there is a distinction here. The internet is allowed its satire, its hyperbole, it's allowed its jokes, and Rogan himself was like, hey, you want to joke about me taking horse dewormer and you're some random account on the internet? Fine, have at it. But to him, CNN is different, and he still wants CNN to uphold journalistic standards. And I saw somebody on Twitter say that CNN needs to decide whether it's a news outlet or whether it's just a bunch of posters like all of us. And so that is the question for them. Kim, do you think that he actually has a case here?
Yeah, I do. I think that, they certainly, I guess, would it be slander or is it libel? I always get those two confused. I think it's slander.
Slander if you're talking, and libel. It's libel in print. It's slander if you're talking.
And they probably printed the article too. So it's defamation. The claim is defamation,
And they weren't the only ones that did it. NBC News did it. I saw NPR do it as well. There were actually numerous outlets that said Joe Rogan had taken horse dewormer. And, I even talked about this previously on the show. How do they get away with saying that? Do they know that he took the gel, that he ordered it, he went to the livestock place and he put it in a spoon and took it? I mean, it is totally misleading. And not only that, but it's dangerous for them to say that, right? Because Joe Rogan is somebody that people actually do follow. They do listen to him. And if NBC or CNN or NPR starts saying he took horse dewormer, that might actually make a person say, well, if he did it, then I will too. Right?
Yeah. So there's no question that it is lousy journalism, and they should be, called out for this. I called them out in my radar from a few days ago. I've been, tweeting about how ridiculous it is that they keep the media keeps using this framing. Whether whether a defamation lawsuit could work here is another question. The answer is I'm not sure. You have to demonstrate. The standard is harder if the person claiming they're defamed is a public figure, of which Joe Rogan certainly qualifies. The standard is actual malice, so it can't just be that the claim was wrong, but it has to be like so recklessly false they knew it was wrong. I mean, it could come down to, it's certainly wrong to refer to this drug as merely a horse deworming drug, because it is approved for humans, it's approved for other animals, it's approved in a lot of circumstances. It is technically, in one of those circumstances, is anti-parasite for horses. So it could come down to, it's not wrong to refer to it that way, it's just you should refer to it in a much broader way. Frankly, I have no idea. Probably they would settle before it ever came to any actual decision, which is what happened, by the way, with the Covington kids, right, who sued CNN and some other places, and it was settled. But in that case, you had those were not public figures; they were just random people. So it's easier for them to claim some harm. And of course, these laws vary from state to state. So it would certainly be an interesting. I'd be interested to see what happens with it. But it's clear journalism failure.
And because we do investigative journalism at The Intercept that targets very powerful and often litigious figures, I get like a weekly class on defamation law from our attorneys as we're going through our stories and right before we publish them. And malice doesn't actually mean anger or hostility.
Right.
You don't have to prove that the person has our colloquial understanding of malice towards somebody. The way you prove it is did they show kind of reckless disregard for what the truth was? And the way that you prove that is was the information publicly available? In other words, could you have just Googled around and found out whether or not he took horse dewormer? Or took the human prescribed FDA approved version? I believe the answer to that is yes. You could have Googled and found that. Secondly, did you take any action to try to find out the truth? Did you do the Google search? Did you reach out to Rogan, to Rogan's representatives, to ask the question before you went on air or went into print with what would be allegedly defamatory? And so, on that score, they seem to have he would have them dead to rights. The question is whether it counts as kind of hyperbole, and it's like, and you have some license that says, well, we didn't really mean he was taking horse dewormer. But I think Kim's point is extremely important, because this is not without consequences. People don't care what NBC tells you to do, but people do actually listen to Joe Rogan. And so if NBC or CNN say that Joe Rogan took horse dewormer, they might think that they're dunking on him and owning him and making fun of him. But a lot of the audience for that is going to say, oh, Joe Rogan took horse dewormer? Well, let me run down to the feed store too and get me some horse dewormer. And then, then NBC is in some ways contributing, or CNN is contributing then to whatever the consequences are for the person using that.
Yeah, I mean, look, people are getting this from doctors. There are doctors that are prescribing this for early action against COVID. That is just the reality of the situation. That's what Joe Rogan, where he got it. And yeah, I mean, they are contributing, absolutely. And I will be really interested to see if Joe Rogan actually goes after them and others, because I do think they need to be held accountable for this type of false reporting. And we need some correction here, some course correction with the news.
And the final thing you have to show would be damages. And I'd say you probably could say that, as somebody who relies on credibility, if you're undermining that credibility falsely, that there are damages. I don't know exactly, how you would quantify those monetarily. Rogan spreads misinformation at times, and if he's called on it, then he usually, will try to correct it and apologize for it and explain how he got that wrong. Nobody's perfect, so if you make these mistakes, you got to correct them and try to earn back the credibility. Yeah,
but actually, that's a good point. I've seen very little interest in setting the record straight on this from the outlets that kept using it's horse dewormer formulation, right? They were not. I mean, some of the people who were tweeting about the overdoses crowding the Oklahoma hospitals, and that's been debunked. And there was some people who tweeted that still have their tweets up about it. So
is Maddow's tweet still up?
I haven't checked it today, but it was still up well after. So it's and
it undermines the ability to get the message out, which is, do not use horse dewormer. Do not use horse paste. Right. Don't go to the feed store. That it is a real problem that people are they're not backing up emergency rooms in Oklahoma City, but it is a problem. People are using this feed store products and they're harming themselves as a result.
Rather than getting it from the doctor. Right. Get it from the doctor.
Talk to your doctor. I'm not saying get it from your doctor because I think those doctors should be are not immune from criticism either for whether or not they're following the science on this question either. But talk to your doctor. Don't go to the feed store. Let's at least agree to that.
Yeah. Tomorrow on Rising, we're joined by Daily Poster founder David Sirota. He weighs in on President Biden's failure to act on the vaccine patent waiver.
Also, Mother Jones reporter Ollie Breland will also be here. He weighs in on the potential fallout of banning the Taliban from social media.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.